Continue from where we left off. So in the previous video, I talked about the load and store operations, all right, as we saw here, and we're going to continue with registers, all right. So as I mentioned, memory access is very slow, all right, and in order to speed things up, what the computer does is to try and keep as much information as possible close to it. And what is close to it, it is within the processor itself, all right. And those storage spaces within the processor are what we call registers to store information for faster processing. And normally, all right, of course in the past we used to have 8-bit processors, 16-bit processors and so on, but now almost all processors are 32-bit or 64-bit, all right, because of the amount of computing power that we have by default. All right, and what we need to know is that registers are just memory to store information as close as possible to the processor. They do not have any data type, all right, which means that they are effectively just storing ones and zeros, all right. And how we interpret these ones and zeros depends on what we do with the data in these registers. Okay, so how many registers are there? It depends on, again, the processor you're using. All right, so in this series of videos, I'm talking about the MIPS processor. Okay, so in the MIPS processor, we have 32 registers, and you can reference these registers either through their number, okay, 0 to 31, or by their name. All right, they both work in the same way. All right, so what do you mean by name or number? So for example, over here, okay, we'll look at this. T8, T9 is 24, 25, which means if I write a code registering register T8, it is the same as saying register 24. Okay, if I want to say I want to use register T9, it's the same as using register 25. They are both the same. Okay, so I can use a number for referencing a register or the name to reference the register. All right, so what is assembly language? Assembly language in short is basically instructions that correspond to hardware operations, all right, or how the processor will execute instructions at the hardware level. All right, so the instructions are very focused and compact to perform something very specific. All right, so let's look at some example, all right, and the syntax. All right, so in this example here, add S0, S1, S2. All right, as you can see, the operation we are doing is just one operation, very focused. We are doing the add operation, and we have three registers specified. All right, and the syntax again is very specific to the processor. So in MIPS processor, you have different ways in which you can perform the operation, and you must use the correct syntax. So in this case, when I have three registers that are specified, all right, the first register is the destination, the second and third registers are the source. That means, what am I doing here? All right, so in this instruction, I'm saying I want to do a add operation, okay, between S1 and S2, and I want to take the result and put into S0. All right, so this is one way in which I can perform addition. All right, of course we will look at other variations to the add instruction, but this is a very basic idea. All right, so every instruction in assembly, you need to look at what is the operation, and based on the operation, the following fields, the destination, the source, sometimes you have immediate value, and so on. All right, so how do I relate this to a high level language like C? All right, so if I were to write a code that is high level, for example, like this, A equals to B plus C, this again, all right, so just to recap, what are A, B, and C? A, B, and C are actually variables in memory. Okay, so you have variable A, variable B, variable C. All right, so maybe they contain some value right now. So maybe this is a value of 5. Okay, this is a value of 2, this is a value of 9, something like that. Okay, so they could be having some values, doesn't matter. And if I want to execute this instruction, A equals to B plus C, what do I need to do? Okay, so let's recall what we did in the last video. I need to move this data, okay, B and C, into my internal registers first. Okay, I need to move into my internal registers. All right, and then after that I perform the add operation. All right, and after I perform the add operation, I will store it into a variable, a register as well. All right, so in this example, okay, when we say that this translates into this assembly code, what we are saying is, in essence, B, okay, was actually transferred to S1, register S1. Okay, and C was registered to transferred to register S2. All right, that means two variable value 2 came here, value 9 came here, and then I did the addition, and the addition was stored in register S0. So register S0 was having the result, which is 11. All right, so after I get the result, what do I need to do? I need to, of course, transfer this data back into my memory. So this will be updated to have a value of 11. Okay, so this is, of course, just a simplistic overview. All right, we do not load and store after every instruction. Okay, so when the compiler translates your high level language into assembly language code, it will have its own way of optimizing all of this to ensure that you minimize the number of memory access, okay, that you need to do, so that you can complete as much of the code as possible using your internal registers. All right, but I'm just showing you an idea of how this would work if, let's say, I'm just executing this one line here. All right, similar to add, you have subtract, so the same thing. All right, we are doing a subtraction here, S1 S2, and the result goes into S0. Okay, so how about more variables? Okay, so when you have more variables, okay, or more operations, okay, how do you do? Because you do not have, okay, in MIPS assembly language, all right, you do not have a single instruction that can do add and subtract at the same time. Okay, so even though I can write a very complex expression in a high level language like C, when I translate it down to the assembly language code, the compiler will have to translate this into multiple steps. All right, so one interpretation could be that I will do B plus C, okay, and then after I get the result, I will take that result and I will do the minus D, okay, which is what is shown here. Okay, so it will be add operation followed by a subtraction operation. Okay, so in between, I will store it in any of my registers. All right, so we have 32 registers. Okay, some are used for specific purposes, but all right, we will come to that when we look at the data sheet, okay, of the instruction set. Again, another example of a complex expression. All right, so we have 4 variables, okay, that we are doing, that we need 2 addition and 1 subtraction. And how will we do is, again, as before, it depends on how the compiler interprets it. Okay, but since we have already enforced the order of operation through brackets, which means that this will be done, then this will be done, and then I will do the subtraction. Okay, again, the mapping of variables to registers, okay, this is just a random mapping that we are showing you. This will be at compile time, okay, depending on what registers are available, okay, and then the compiler will allocate them accordingly. Okay, again, some other examples here, all right, to give you an idea of these kind of operations. Okay, so now one more variation. Like I said, there are different ways in which you can do the same operation. In add, just now what we saw was A equals to B plus C. So in this case, we have 2 registers. Okay, so if I translate this, will be add, for example, S0, S1, and S2. Okay, so I have 2 variables adding together and giving me a result that I will store in another variable. So I have 3 registers mapped to A, B, and C. But in an instruction like this, A equals to A plus 4, what am I doing? I'm using my current register, which is A, and I'm adding with a constant value. All right. So in this kind of situations, your assembly language code has a variation to the add called add I, add immediate. Okay, so in add I, add immediate, when I say S0, and the last one is a numerical constant. So this 4 will be added to S0 and the result will be placed back into S0. Okay, as you can see, is A equals to A plus 4. So whichever register the A is mapped to, in this case we are using S0, then we have this map assembly language code. Alright, so now of course an important question you may ask is, what is the limit for this number? Can I put a very, very big number? Alright, so the limit, alright, is given here. The range of that immediate value is 2 to the power minus 2 to the power 15 to 2 to the power 15 minus 1. So it's basically a 16-bit 2's complement number. Okay, why are we limited to 16-bit 2's complement number? Okay, we will understand this in more detail when we look at how assembly language instructions are mapped to specific bit codes. Alright, the 32-bit codes that are used in the instruction. Okay, so then we will come to that. Alright, we'll come to that. Okay, now one more concept that I just wanted to cover for this video is the register 0. Okay, so in the 32 registers that we have, one of the registers, which is register 0, has a value of 0. Okay, it's register 0 and it has a value of 0. Okay, and of course you might ask, why do I even need this register? If you want to do a copy statement, so for example in C, if I want to do this statement, effectively I'm taking the content of G and copying it and putting it into F. So how can I do that? I can add with 0 and put it back into another register. So when I do this instruction, add S0, S1 with the 0 register, what am I doing? I'm saying whatever that is in S1, I add with 0. So add with 0 means nothing changes, and I put in S0. So what happens is effectively I'm taking the content of S1 and I am copying it and placing it into S0. Of course, the question on your mind right now is, why don't I just have a simple copy instruction, okay, or a move instruction? Alright, so the main reason is we want to minimize adding redundant hardware if I can perform the operation that I want with existing hardware. Alright, so we want to keep the processor design as compact as possible, alright, and try to see what are the small tweaks we can do here and there to make sure that I can have very good instruction coverage with the hardware that I already have. Okay, so this is one trick in that. Alright, that means instead of saying I add another instruction, I use an existing instruction, but I just use a 0 register. Okay, now of course, since this is a common instruction, okay, in the MIPS instruction set, okay, we have what you call a pseudo instruction. Pseudo instructions are not actual instructions that are supported by the processor, but they are accepted in the code. Okay, what do we mean? That means if I write this instruction in code, it is accepted, but when I translate it, it will translate into valid MIPS instructions. Alright, something like what I've shown you here. Okay, so even though I may give you this instruction, okay, or you may use this instruction to perform a copy, this move is not a valid MIPS instruction, so this may translate into this, alright, during the compile time. Alright, so that's all for this video. Alright, to give you an overview of some basic assembly language instructions that you see in MIPS. Alright, so thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.